Welcome, everybody, to Scarves and Spikes. It's the final countdown, everybody.
Spikes.
It's the final countdown.
3 games. We've got 3 games left.
Home stretch.
By the way, have you ever listened or taken time to sit down and read the lyrics to that song? They literally make no sense whatsoever.
No, but I'm going to do it after we get done here because I want to know.
I played it on Rock Band all the time. So, yeah. You had to sing it, and you had to drum and bass. You had to do it all at the same time.
That was the game, wasn't it? Rock Band.
I don't know why it died. It was so much fun.
I like Guitar Hero, but Rock Band was fun. They were both fun.
DJ Hero was another one.
Didn't do that.
I didn't play that.
I could have beat DJU. I just want to say, I could have.
Challenge.
I got usually 5 stars on all of it.
Who Among Us, right though?
All right.
But yeah, good to see you guys. Happy match week, a double match week for a Lady United.
I thought it was Wednesday.
We'll talk about that.
I know.
Yeah. It's only Monday, so usually right now I'm getting ready to watch wrestling, but here we are, talk about a huge match against Philadelphia, where it's last time we went to go play Philadelphia, we weren't feeling very good about that game. And now it seems like we've got a ton of confidence going into this one, right? But before we even get to that, because it's weird, usually we talk about a game, and we don't even have that really to talk about. Let's catch up on everything that we're doing. So, of course, our Patreon, right? So this is a big week for us. This is our last regular season watch-along. So you are all welcome. Join our Patreon. You know the website, Sydney. I don't know it off.
Patreon.com/scarves and spikes.
Thank you. You can sign up there. We'll be on Zoom on Wednesday around 7 o'clock. Come join us. You can be on camera, not be on camera, just creep in the background, whichever you'd like. Chat with us, and yeah, it'll be a good time. We've been doing the YouTube things here for the past couple watch-alongs, but the Zoom one's a little bit more personal. Hang out with us. Tyler usually will do a shot every goal, so it's a good time. So the goal here is to have a hangover for Tyler on Thursday. That's the ultimate goal. If he has it,
I'll take that all day. if they win by that many goals, it's gonna be a good evening.
Gotta make sure they don't score too many, just for your health and safety and well-being, Tyler.
Yeah. So last night, if you guys don't know, the Open Cup has started back up, right? The Cup.
I didn't until you told me yesterday.
It ended with Houston, and actually 2024 started before the final. It's actually the first round was the beginning of September. Well, the second round just wrapped up yesterday, and this is one of the fun times when all the lower division teams are, fighting it out, and they're playing in like backyards and people's like random, towns and places all over the country.
Like McDonough, Georgia.
Like McDonough, Georgia. Yes. So,
just kidding.
No, but you're right, because it was a little crazy out there on Friday. But no, Sunday last night, they had a match down in Miami, not related to anything Inter Miami, and not the Miami FC, but Miami United FC played a club called Soccer Paradise. Okay,
where's Soccer Paradise from?
They're out of Miami Gardens, so they're all in the same area.
South Florida,
they're the Magic City of Florida.
So it was not paradise for them. It was absolute hell. Tommy, that was whatever.
That was good. That was good. Come on.
It was good.
Just Google it if you don't know.
Yes, and then Dan, I see you. I was going to bring that up to Sharktopus FC. That is a legit club that is playing in the Open Cup right now, and they did win last night, and they are on their way to the third round. I say all that.
They're playing Tornado FC.
That would be amazing. Or
yeah.
Well, never mind.
I'm full of them today, guys.
Just keep going, buddy.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
So you're watching Miami.
9-0 Miami beat Soccer Paradise. So if that's the kind of watch along we get to have Wednesday night, and Atlanta is the 9, it's gonna be a good night.
I know Miami United were very much united in scoring a lot of goals against Soccer Paradise.
Yep.
And you're right, it was not a paradise for Soccer Paradise, but
soccer hell. It
was
very much soccer hell for them.
Yeah, it's just like you said, just like a lot of not bizarre names because a lot of them are tributes to, and we'll talk about Lady United in a second. A lot of them are tributes to companies and stuff like that. There's like a beer company that sponsors the team out DC that really gave
Yep.
DC United fits a number of years ago. Well, a few years ago, but yeah, it's a fun tournament, and at Lady United will have to wait a little bit until they get in it. But no, like you said, Tyler, it just ended with Houston winning the whole thing, but now already it's just started back up. So I think you're at the Georgia Revolution game on Saturday, not U.S. Open Cup related,
Yeah.
but
Yep, got to see their UPSL team play the U23s.
nice.
They played North Georgia United too. So just some local soccer. It was fun. It was a handful of people out there, and they won 2-0, which was good. So
Very nice. Very nice.
No sleep for the U.S. Open Cup.
no,
I know.
None at all.
not even kind of.
Ongoing thing. But yeah, patreon.com/Scars and Spikes. Like Tommy said, doing a watch along for patrons only on Wednesday, not before, during the match. So join us there if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, please do subscribe. You get a 7-day free trial right off the bat. Gets you Discord access. A lot of other fun stuff. Bonus episodes that we do from time to time. We did a mailbag the other day that is live on our Patreon feed. And yeah, just a lot
Discounts
of
on
cool
stickers.
stuff. Discounts on stickers. Also other merch that we have going on as well. So yeah, patreon.com/Scarfs and Spikes. I should say other merch that we have coming up hopefully soon. So patreon.com/Scarfs and Spikes. If you have them, if you have them, thanks for buying them and thanks for supporting us. And that's our little plug, unless you had something else, Tommy or Tyler.
No, I was going to say, so what did you guys do with your weekend? Did you MLS? Did you just watch other teams and just constantly refresh the live standings? Because that's what I was doing while I was watching the Columbus Philly game.
Yeah. I was watching a little bit of MLS 360 on Saturday, and it didn't all turn out. It didn't turn out exactly how Atlanta United fans would have hoped, because there are a lot of results that they had wanted to, fall their way if they wanted to have an optimal position on Wednesday with a win against Philadelphia. However, Columbus did draw this match. Tommy, you kind of alluded to it, which is a good thing for Atlanta United. Henry saying in the chat who's going to be checking the driver's licenses at Subaru Park, referring to Jim Curtin's comments a few months back when Atlanta United hosted the Philadelphia Union. But no, yeah, not every result fell Atlanta United's way, but it could have been, just a lot worse on them. That draw for Columbus probably was the result that we needed as Atlanta United fans, because it really positions Atlanta United in a good spot with a win on Wednesday against Philadelphia that could put them into fourth place and put them guys into a Champions Cup spot. Not the round of 16, but the first round. So that's up for grabs. That's something that I didn't know about. And shout out to Henry for pointing that out on X a few days ago. But that is up for grabs for Atlanta United. So yeah, if they win on Wednesday, they'll be in the top 4 spot, I believe. And then just a massive match against Columbus on Saturday. So, we're all feeling good. We're all feeling optimistic. I don't know what it means for Atlanta United's on-field results on Wednesday, but things are going a lot better, obviously, for Atlanta United. They just have to win on the road.
So
it's just so critical for them to get this win on Wednesday.
So to that point about the Champions Cup, which is going to take forever for me to get used to calling it that, not Champions League, but you're looking at basically anybody down to it. Atlanta's in 6th right now. They're barely in 6th. They're just behind Columbus. So they're a point behind Columbus, 2 points behind Philly, 3 points behind New England, and 5 points behind Orlando. That's how tight it is. You pretty much everybody from them up has a shot at that final Champions Cup spot. Now, a lot of things got to go Atlanta's way, namely winning their rest of their matches. Also, Orlando is kind of the thorn right there. You want Orlando to pretty much crap the bed for the rest of the season, but it's there, and you now have the team that can maybe do it. Right? You're not the same team you were against Philly last time, and you beat Philly last time. Of course, that was at home. It's a totally different story, but yeah, it's something to kind of keep an eye on if they pull a win out Wednesday.
I've kind of given up on second place, though. I feel like Orlando has that pretty much sewn down. But like you said, Tyler, if they go on this dramatic skid over the last few matches, if Atlanta United take care of business, who knows? Obviously, Cincinnati's already won the Shield, so they're out of sight. But I feel like Orlando's kind of there in second. So I've kind of resigned myself to the fate of Atlanta United not finishing any higher than third. Of course, they still need to take care of business, but
A conference finals between Orlando and Atlanta.
oh gosh,
Ooh, baby,
in Orlando. Good grief.
in Orlando.
That should
Hey.
be fun.
Once we were in a semifinal with them before, and it went over pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orlando fans though, and God bless them, they're just insufferable. Tyler, you've been there.
Yeah.
A great stadium.
Yeah.
Great
Pretty
stadium.
neat.
But just the fan base is just, I've mentioned this, just the most sophomoric fan base probably in MLS. Like the chants are like, you suck a-hole when they do goal kicks and stuff like that. I mean, come on, guys. You're adults, not in college. Grow up, get some new chants, and stop being annoying. So that's just my 2 cents on Orlando City.
So the next two games are obviously so important, right? You got Philly on the road. You could prove yourself against a playoff opponent. Can you win? Can you finish this team on the road? A team that's on short rest. I think that's very important here. They had to play, Saturday. We did not. We've taken advantage of those games where we've played opponents on short rest. Now we haven't taken advantage on the road, but obviously here with this team who can just not put it together. If you can score an early here, take it home, and then go against Columbus at home for your season finale at the Benz, you're facing two teams right there that you could be facing in the second or third round potentially. It's huge. Like, this is just absolutely huge here for them because we talked about this before. Last time Atlanta was in the playoffs, they were playing teams that were below the playoff line, right? They had one of the easiest paths into the playoffs. Atlanta did their work. They made it in.
Barely.
This time it's different. Right. They barely made it in. But now it's completely different. You're playing three teams in the top six to finish the year. And let's go back to right before, we went to Seattle, right? Nobody thought that there were people saying, and hot takes, we weren't going to make the playoffs at all. Right? Like, that's kind of how it felt because we got knocked out of Leagues Cup. We had no idea what these new transfers were going to be like. We weren't even sure if there were transfers that were coming in. We weren't even sure if some of them were even showing up at one point. You've got these guys together. They're scoring in bunches. They're scoring in bunches at home, scoring bangers. Your wingers have scored more goals on the wing than you probably did the entire season. Like, this is different. And it feels positive. And now we've got hope, right? We've got hope for these playoffs because, yes, it's a different format. But once you get past that first round, if you can get past the first round, it's just like the rest of the playoffs. All you got to do is just win one against that team. And you've seen so many teams, especially away teams, be able to figure out ways of how to win on the road in the MLS playoffs.
Atlanta have done it in the past against New York City, the year they won the Cup. I want to hit on something that Colonel said in the chat. By the way, if you're listening after effect on the podcast, we have an open chat on YouTube. We read out comments throughout the night. But Colonel's saying Philly is on short rest and gas, according to Jonathan Tannenwald of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And Andre Blake, I'll kind of throw this in there. Andre Blake tweaked his groin his pre-existing injury from earlier in the year, so he tweaked his screw. And Joe Bendick would be the backup goalkeeper if Blake, for whatever reason, can't go. I think he'll give it a go, but if he can't, Joe Bendick, our good friend from formerly Orlando and Marietta native, will go in his place,
And also the
which would
goalkeeper the last time Atlanta played
Yep.
Philly.
yeah. So something to look out for. Philly players have been saying, we they're pretty much worn out because of all the matches. So that's something to watch out for. Atlanta United are rested and Philly are not, and it's gonna be interesting to see how Philadelphia comes out in this match. And I'm sure Union fans will hope that kind of the adrenaline comes or takes over and their team is able to hold serve at home. But at the same time, fatigue is real vague. And you figure that if Philly is presenting fatigue and the legs are heavy on Wednesday, that benefits Atlanta United. And yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. We'll have to be mindful of it on Wednesday. And we'll talk about the match with Steve Cangialosi, who's calling it on Wednesday. We'll talk about it with him in just a little bit. But Atlanta United, I think with that in mind, stand a chance of maybe not only walking out with a draw, guys, but walking out with a win. So we'll be able to, we'll see what happens.
I brought up
for sure
something on, I think it was, we've done so many shows recently between this and Patreon. I can't remember, but one really, really interesting thing to me about this match compared to the last Philly match was after that Philly match in the locker room, Brooks Lennon talked to us and said, hey, this game, we had so much extra film and so much extra time to watch the film and truly prepare. It's really interesting to see. Now, again, you had plenty of time, right? You had plenty of time for this one, on top of the fact that Philly has played multiple games in the past week and a half. So does that translate again to not just a draw, but a win? If Atlanta can get the better of Philly twice in a season, especially going away, and you can attribute that to, the film review, things like that. You also have to look at Kai Wagner is going to be suspended. He's on yellow card accumulation. He's their lead passer. He's involved with lots in their play. Very crucial guy. Super tired. Like you said, starting goalkeeper may not start. There's a lot going for Atlanta here. So you can't fall back on that. Oh, well, it's an away game, so we'll settle for a draw and not, hope not for a loss and just hope for a win. Like, you have to go for this. You have to go for this. You're at the point now in the season, like you were saying earlier, Tommy, you can go and make a statement going into the playoffs. You can go and make a statement against three teams that are right now, if you just look at the standings, better than you. Go do it and put everybody else on notice going into the playoffs. And I think you'll be set in terms of your confidence if you can make it at least 7 points out of these last three. I mean, of course, 9 would be great. 6 is not bad, but you want to win a couple at least and at least draw one. You don't want to lose anymore.
So let's talk about that real quick. So 7 points. So you're assuming a win against Columbus, obviously, and then a win against either Philadelphia or Cincinnati on the road. I feel like a win against Philadelphia would be more beneficial because Cincinnati, I'm not going to say they're mailing it in, but they have something to play for, as Tommy has mentioned in past episodes. They can break the points record in MLS with, I think, 3 wins in their final 3 matches. So that's still up for grabs. I don't think are going to rest. I think we talked about that. I don't think they're going to rest starters to a significant extent because you want them loosened up. But keep in mind, though, they have rest anyway while waiting for the play-in opponent. So I think your best path right now would be a win against Philadelphia. I mean, you either way, you have to get out of Philadelphia with something right. You can't leave Philly with no points. Period. I mean, if you want to consider yourself a top four team, if you don't, I would say just kiss your chances at a top four spot goodbye. But you got to get something at least in Philadelphia. Beat Columbus on Saturday, and then even if you draw against Cincinnati on Saturday, or decision day, I should say, hope that results fall your way. Hopefully, it doesn't have to come to that, but hope that results come your way against a team that I'm not going to say has mailed it in, but really has accomplished its primary goal for the season, and are kind of in a cruise control mode. Keep in mind, though, that they are looking to break the points record. And by the way, I don't know if, thank you a little bit ahead, Nuna doesn't seem like a guy that's concerned about that. He just is happy with, we want supporter shield. He's kind of said, that's kind of a little more of the spotlight than MLS Cup. I guess if you ask other coaches around the league, they may disagree, but yeah, they I feel like they've accomplished their goals, and the points thing is secondary. But at the same time, you don't want to go into the playoff on a long layoff. So that remains to be seen what their strategy is. But got to get something out of Philly, and I feel like if you're playing from behind, you run the risk of having to chase the game and being forced to adapt to the play style that Jim Curtin's going to want to play. And that's going to be dangerous. And I feel like Atlanta has to be the protagonist. We mentioned that phrase a lot, but they have to be the protagonist of this match. Keep in mind, too, just one quick thing I want to throw out. Yakimakis and Mosquera on a yellow card. The yellow card type rope, as Conti calls it. More concerned about Yako than I am Mosquera because you have at least death at that spot. But you don't want to lose Yakimakis going into Columbus where you stand a massive chance at really sealing a top four spot. So that's something to throw out. But yeah, the Wagner thing, Tyler is a big thing, and the fatigue. So a lot of factors that work into Atlanta United's favor.
Blake hurting. I mean, yeah, all this puts together that you need to come away with something here. And there's been a lot of talk about how to throughout the entire season from Pineda. We've got to win on the road. We got to win on the road. This is your main chance because there's always gonna be some type of asterisk next to the Cincinnati game. Not officially, but when you're watching that game that, hey, they might not play their guys for only 30 minutes. Okay, you got the win on the road, but you just got to win where they were playing a lot of backups or whatever. So, yeah, this is pretty big here. Mosquera, why'd you take your kid off? Like, why? Like, if you were this close to suspension,
keep it on.
Keep your shirt on.
By the way, Bruno asked in the chat, do Yells get reset the playoffs? They do. So
yes, they do.
Just a FYI. So, yeah. It's kind of a
so either
tightrope.
get it now and let RA play, or don't let it happen at all and just make it to the playoffs and let everything reset.
Get it in the last match. Get it in the last match where it doesn't matter. Like,
and to be fair, he may be the one to get one in the last match, because if Yakimakis if that golden boot race is still on, he's going to do everything he can in that last match, including probably DDT and somebody. So
no red card though. No red card.
Yeah,
no, I don't get a red card.
Gosh, no. Going into the first game of the first round without Yakimakis. Goodness, no. Do we want to get into news now, or do we want to leave?
Well, we've only got a couple minutes. I thought Tyler brought up a good point about Tiare and playing. You're running out of time, right? Like, obviously there was a bunch of issues with him getting his visa and arriving, but he's a big part of this lineup because we all know that Barry should not see the field throughout the playoffs, right? We know that if something happens to Yakimakis or they're down a goal, Yakimakis is tired, whatever, they just need to bring an extra player. They need to get him some playing time. So how do you, if you're Pineda, how do you figure him into some playing time here in the next 3 games?
I think for me, the easy answer is you don't want to luckily you've had the rest, right? You've had this break, but you don't want to force anything with Yakimakis that you don't have to. These last 3 games, unfortunately, are not easy, but you got to go in, let Yakimakis do his thing, hopefully get you up a goal or 2. He's going to be fighting for that golden boot, so he's not going to want to come off. But Chare can be the guy. We saw his impact just in the short amount of time that he came in the last match. He won a red card, right? I mean, it was a second yellow. Probably could have been a dog so, but whatever. But he came in and made things happen just from running and getting in behind the back line. Like it's crazy what a striker can do when they just decide to run towards goal. So I think this is notwithstanding anything about Yakimakis getting that yellow, because if he gets the yellow and he's suspended, then it's Chara day, and he's gonna come on and hopefully he shows out and does the job. But I mean, I think there's time, and then you also have to remember too in the playoffs with the amount of games that you're going to be playing. Now you do have a little bit of rest, but you're still potentially going to be playing a bunch of games. Tiare and the depth are going to have to step up and make things happen.
Yeah, I just don't want to see him get his first appearance in the playoffs. Like they've got to be able to fit him in here with the starters, right? Like, sure, you could go put him out there with Tyler Wolf and Mascara and maybe some of the backups. That's great, but you want to start getting him in some rhythm with Saba, Silva. Like you need something. I feel, to just have some confidence out there with him. So yeah, I hope they somehow figure him. Hopefully you're up in one of these games early, and you can take Yakimakis out if you can let him out, which I don't know he might just fight. And just refuse
might fight
to
the technical staff at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he wants that golden boot, but I think especially for him, knock on wood, we've had a healthy Yakimakis for quite some time. And we want to keep it that way. And, we've got a lot of players going on international break as well. So, I mean, you got this international break and you got another one if you get past that first round. So as much rest as you can get that guy and prepared for the playoffs while still winning, it's a win.
I'll say this real quick. We got Steve waiting, so I don't want to keep him waiting too long. But I feel like Yakimakis has an understanding of team above individual achievements, and the golden boot is great. It's nice to have, and I know he wants it, but I think he knows that, look, we gotta get to where you need to be from a team standpoint above anything else, because if you get a golden boot and then you're not rested up for the playoffs and your depth's not clicking, it doesn't matter. So that's just my 2 cents super quick. I'd love to see Tiare come out maybe 15-30 against Philadelphia, depending on how things go. Now, if they're down like 1-0, that's not the time for it. If they have a secure lead, that's the time for it. But no,
if you're chasing a goal, maybe
he's a wild card. They don't have any film on him,
and he's fast, right? He's the fastest guy in FIFA. I've tested it. In FIFA stats mean everything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
All right. Well, I think this might be either our first or second two-time appearance on the show, right? I don't think we've had guests come on here twice.
We had Kevin. We had Kevin Egan twice.
We've had Kevin.
Twice.
And
but
now
Steve.
Twice.
But on the call this week, we have Steve Cangialosi, I believe with Danny Higginbotham as well. Steve, how's it going?
I'm fine, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what's been overwhelming me for the last 24 hours.
Oh boy.
Labjanidze.
Labjanidze.
I'm not just going with Saba unless I have express written consent from the player himself. So There we go. Good to be back with you guys. And you guys should have Kevin Egan on 5 more times. He's tremendous.
We love Kevin.
Love Kevin.
Yep. Hometown hero.
For sure. And WWE legend.
There you go.
So Steve, we were looking back to see last time you came on the show. And it just so happened this was also right before the Philadelphia match that we played at home. And I think the vibes were different. I think, at least for us, and I think even for you listening to you back on the interview, there wasn't a lot of confidence in Atlanta United. They were going into that game. They were missing players because of international duty. I think Miles, Giacomakis, I think they were all out. And now it's a completely different vibe here in Atlanta. There's confidence. We're scoring goals. And even to go back for one more moment, we won that Philadelphia game at home.
Mm-hmm.
That was a shock. I don't think a lot of people really expected us to win it. And now we're here. We're going on the road against Philly, and we have more confidence going on the road than we did at home. So how are you feeling about Atlanta United compared to last time we spoke with you?
I guess the headline way for me to answer your question is periodically I'm asked to put in my 2 cents for the weekly power rankings in Major League Soccer. 2 weeks ago, which was the last time you played, maybe 2 match days ago, the last time you played, and today, when I was asked to do it again, I had Atlanta as high as number 4 in the league. So I think that speaks to where I am from the time you're talking about to now. And correct me if I'm wrong, that Philadelphia game at Mercedes-Benz, they weren't missing Giacomakis that day. Wasn't that the day he got hurt?
He
And
got hurt in like
That's right.
30th
about
minute.
half an hour in. And the other memories from that day were Brooks Lennon just having a tremendous impact at the end. Almada scoring the goal with a rebound of his own free kick. And I do remember the sick feeling I had in my stomach when Gigi left in the first half about 30 minutes in due to injury, because I just had this feeling it could be something that really casts doubt on the remainder of the season for him. And thank heavens for him. Thank heavens for the league, because he's a marquee player in this league, that it didn't shake out that way. So to answer your question, they've won my, I don't want to say respect. That's too strong of a word, because with a team that's coached by Gonzalo and a team that's run by Garth, they had that already. But I have a lot more faith in this team to do something in November as opposed to where I was maybe 3 months ago. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, and you throw in kind of the storyline going into this match, one of many storylines. We start with Andre Blake, who, according to the Inquirer in Philly, had a flare-up of his groin injury over the weekend. Players hitting out the scheduling saying, we're playing too many matches, which there's definitely credits too with Leagues Cup, Open Cup, all the other competitions going on this season. And then you have Kai Wagner's going to be missing due to yellow card accumulation. So I feel like that's kind of the perfect storm for Atlanta United, considering how they're playing right now, right? How will that have an effect on Philly? Or is this a match that they can overcome kind of those issues that they've been having? Fatigue, the Blake, the Blake knock, I guess, for lack of a better term, things like that, missing Wagner. And do you think they're going to be able to overcome that and maybe beat Atlanta? Or can Atlanta overcome all of that and use that to their advantage?
Well, if Joe Bendick is in goal on Wednesday night, that changes the handicap element of this considerably, right? I'm aware of the piece that was written in the Philadelphia Inquirer and the basics of what Andre Blake said. I still have to read the whole thing. And full disclosure, I still have my talk with both coaches, Pineda and Jim Curtin, tomorrow. I have not done it yet. So, Sydney, the answer to your question is fixture congestion is affecting a lot of things, including when broadcasters get access. All of these games are crunched to the point where it's been dizzying. I think the number that comes to mind when you speak about the point that Andre is making, Philadelphia played MLS Cup last year. In the 2022 season, MLS Cup was their 38th game of the year. This game against Atlanta, Wednesday night, with still some regular season to go after Wednesday, is game 46 for the Philadelphia Union. Because they had the deep run in Leagues Cup, and contrary to last year, they were bounced very early in the U.S. Open Cup. So the focus was just on the league, where they tied in points at the end with LAFC, and then, of course, the epic final. So the issue here is real. The conversation, I think, behind closed doors in MLS will be real at the conclusion of this year. It's not just Andre Blake. Steve Cherundolo had a lot to say about this. I think teams that play on an artificial surface regularly, like your Atlanta United, also will bring this issue to the forefront during this offseason. What's going to be done about it? I don't have a tangible answer for you, but as long as you're going to keep Leagues Cup in the manner in which you do, and Leagues Cup being formatted as this little mini World Cup in the MLS Liga MX universe, where they don't want to play this like Champions League. They don't want to play it periodically over the course of the season. They want to create an event. And as long as you're sticking to that, and Leagues Cup was a great success this year, guys, they're not getting away from that, then I think the number of solutions are somewhat limited if you are going to stay with a 34-game regular season.
So let me ask you this super quick, and not to take it off Atlanta, Philadelphia, but you mentioned the artificial surface. Of course, the World Cup is coming in 2026. Atlanta will host multiple matches, probably multiple knockout stage matches, if not one. There's going to be grass brought in to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The NFLPA has been talking about grass surfaces and maybe switching teams over to grass surfaces, probably precipitated by, you're in New York, got the Aaron Rodgers situation, the Aaron Rodgers injury. So is there a world that maybe in 3 to 4 years, MLS teams are playing on grass, in your opinion?
Yeah, there is a world, but I think people want to address this much sooner than 3 to 4 years. Because if I'm a player who's 30 years old and I've only got so much tailwind in the prime of my career, I'm not all that concerned about the summer of 2026. I'm concerned about the summer of 2024. Lionel Messi entering this league, I think, has opened up some dialogue that you and I are probably not privy to. How do we maximize Messi's appearances in MLS in 2024 while not having him play on natural surface and not just making this about Lionel Messi? This is about, by and large, all of the players in Major League Soccer. So the people I've talked to have told me the thought is nice of laying a grass field down. Just for a big event. Like, let's say Lionel Messi is coming to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough and the Patriots aren't playing for a while. We're going to put a grass surface down. Well, there has to be an investment of time and patience in order to put that surface down. You know, Danny Higginbotham's my partner, and he told me in no uncertain terms, you can't just put a grass field down and expect it to be full in 10 to 14 days. And it's perhaps even more of a risk to the players if the grass is not settled properly than artificial surface would be. So we're all going down this tricky road of trying to predict what will happen. I think the worry about this is very real in Major League Soccer. I think the players will continue to bring this to the forefront, and I'd like to see something really tangible done in the next 2 years. And if that has to do with scheduling a little bit differently, then I think that has to be looked at as well.
Do you hear MLS players talking about this?
Yes.
Okay.
They do. The issue to me is it might not get you on a specific day, but the wear and tear over a 34-game regular season. And in the case of teams like LAFC and Philadelphia this year, which are probably going to max out in the mid-50s, guys, if they have any relevant playoff success at all. And, you know, let's say it's Atlanta United next year. And let's say Atlanta has a better Leagues Cup. Let's say they play their 34 games, they do a little something in the U.S. Open Cup and then get playoffs. Then you're talking about the issue that I'm, communicating now, and you're talking about half of your schedule at least being played. That, to me, I think will be a factor. The players in New England through the years that I have spoken to said, look, we want to play for the Revolution. So that kind of overrode any concern we had about that. But don't think for 1 minute that it's not something that's in the back of our minds and that we worry about constantly.
So to kind of tie all that up, let me ask you this. With Philly, Now they have a handful of games left as well. They're in I guess maybe the unique position where they're actually in the Champions Cup. I keep wanting to say Champions League. They're in the Champions Cup next year because of the third place in Leagues Cup, right?
Yes.
Nashville is one of the other ones from the Leagues Cup. They're still fighting, maybe for a certain berth in the playoffs. Miami, I think, I don't want to say their season's done, but their season's more or less done. So maybe they don't have as much to play for. Cincinnati just clinched, right? So out of all those Eastern Conference teams, do you think Philly maybe lets their foot off the gas just here at the end, considering the fixture congestion, so that they can kind of ready themselves for the playoffs, since ultimately that's what's going to be most important? I mean, they have Champions Cup, so they're there. And then of course they're not going to give up in the playoffs, but do you think they maybe take a step back a little bit here in the end of the regular season?
Tyler, I think we're seeing a little bit of that already. I've probably done more Philadelphia Union games this season than any other team in MLS. And we've been all across this wonderful country this year. Don't get me wrong. We've had a taste of just almost every team in the league, Danny and I. But I think including Leagues Cup, I think I've done this team about 20 times. So I've developed a pretty good relationship with the people there and the head coach, Jim Curtin. But here's the thing. If you look at what they've done in recent weeks, they only played half a game. Their two best strikers the last time out against Columbus. That's Julian Carranza and Mikhail Ua, who came on in the second half. Glesnes is a tricky one here because Jim Curtin told us 2 weeks ago when he had that Iron Man streak of 101 starts ended. He goes, look, if this is a playoff game, he's out there now. We're not saving him. He can play. But we're going to be smart about this. He's got a sports hernia issue. And if he steps the wrong way, this could get worse before the playoffs begin for them in that first week of November. So they're thinking about all these things. Carranza just came out of concussion protocol. Ua is a guy, for all his misgivings, who still needs to have that element of pace be real to be a factor. So they'll go a little easy on him probably. I can't tell you the severity of Jose Martinez's knee injury. It is a bone bruise. But if these games were more urgent for Philadelphia, might they be compelled to have him out there sooner rather than later? I think there's a little bit of mystery to that, even with the guys who've been around the team on a semi-regular basis. So you're seeing more Chris Donovans and Quinn Sullivans and players of that ilk. Bedoya is a guy who was out a long time. I still think, having big minutes for him at this point is not a bad thing as he continues to round into full form. I know he's played 90 a few times. So, yeah, I think they're going to hedge this a little bit. That's not to say they don't have great motivation to win this game, because I do believe now that Supporters Shield is wrapped up, they want to finish second. They want to finish second or third, because at least that means you're going to avoid Cincinnati until a conference final if you keep advancing. And I wouldn't be so quick to write off Inter Miami at this point, Tyler. I know where you're going with this, and I've had smart people in the league tell me that after the 1-1 draw the other night, and I happened to call that game, that they're toast. But I think if they win 3 and draw 1, they have 4 remaining games. I still think there's a good chance that they have the opportunity to get in here. Nobody else seems to want this thing. DC United is the team that's closest to the playoff line among the teams that are under it. Guys, after Wednesday night, they have 1 game left. They don't play decision day. We have this league of 29 teams, so somebody has to sit out on this great day that's become an annual tradition in this league. So think about this. The playoffs for them, should they make it as a wild card team, would begin either October 25th or 26th. And if they make it somehow, they will not have played since October 7th. That's a 22-day gap before a do-or-die game. Ask me why I love this league. It's probably because of all the nutty, quirky things like that.
So many.
Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting against looking at Philly, I mean, they're at home against Atlanta, then they're at home against Nashville, and then decision day they're on the road against New England. It's not an easy path for them at all.
No, it's not. I think the good thing for them and a lot of the other best teams in the East, 7 have already clinched right now. So it puts them in a little bit of a comfort zone. I'm interested to see how Atlanta lines up in this game. I don't expect much of a change from the last time that they played. And Philadelphia obviously will have to play and play better because I think this team has lost a little bit of its edge as the season has worn on. It always comes back to me, if you circle back to March 25th, Philadelphia was that team that was clearly the buzz team in the league. Okay. They're going to play for trophies. They're going to play for multiple trophies. They got knocked out of Champions League in the semifinals in CONCACAF. They got knocked out of Leagues Cup in the semifinals by Inter Miami. Got knocked out of the Open Cup earlier than that. So now all that's left on the table for this team to have the measure of success that I think their fans expected and a lot of neutral observers around the league expected is to go out and win MLS Cup. And at this point, there's no basis to call them a favorite for that. I'm not even sure they're second or third on that list.
So Atlanta's scored 17 goals, and I think in 7 games since the international break. Can this team, do you think, go into the playoffs with, as we talked about last time, they can allow a goal any minute, and they weren't scoring as much though when we last talked. Now they're scoring in bunches. Do you think this team can power themselves to an MLS Cup just through their offensive power?
Not through the prism that you're painting, because I don't think teams advance deeply into the MLS Cup playoffs by winning games 4-2. That's my opinion. I think there has to be that basis of we've got it all right on the back end, and then what players like Gigi and Almada and Saba and Silva do enhances our chances to really take any game by the throat. Giakoumakis is tremendous. And I think I mentioned this the last time I was on your show. You guys know all the years I spent around the New York Red Bulls. That's the one that's the kind of player where I think they drop the ball. A player who's, so well thought of in his own country. He's a fixture on the Greek national team. Astoria, Queens in New York is like the Greek capital of the Western Hemisphere. And he works when he plays. He could play in a pressing system. And, I think there's this element of sarcasm from the fans of that team. What the heck is a player like that doing in Atlanta and not in New York? John Tolkien would have 15 assists by now if Giakoumakis was his target striker. God bless Brooks Lennon, who's a wonderful player, regardless of who the striker is. I get that. But that's the kind of player who makes other guys on the team, that hallmark kind of player that really has you getting the best numerically out of a lot of other people other than himself. But to answer your question, I don't think you're going to knock off 3 straight really good teams by outscoring your issues in one area of the field. That doesn't mean this can't be successful for them. If Robinson and Abram and Josetu and Guzan as the last line of defense elevate their game to the max, then obviously it's a different conversation. But again, to circle back, my respect for where they are now. I think right now, on talent alone, overall, this to me is a top 4 team in Major League Soccer because the balance of power shifted to the East big time this year.
So if you talked a little bit about Red Bulls, and as it stands now, Red Bulls are going to miss the playoffs, and it's been, a while since that's happened, as you know. You mentioned, maybe they kind of dropped the ball on Giakoumakis and possibly bringing him here, if he was on the radar, which I'm sure he was. But for a team like that, who have been used to playoffs, getting there every single year, and have yet to make that push through to the next level, what's kind of the missing ingredient for them, and what's kind of the conversations that Red Bull are looking at to really elevate this club, I guess?
They could have salvaged this had they been far more aggressive in the summer signing window, and they did not. So if you're going to take this team as constructed when they rolled out the first ball on February 25th and tell me that Lewis Morgan, who openly said he wanted to win a Golden Boot this year, would score no goals and suffers a devastating injury that keeps him out practically the entire season, spare a couple of games. And then Dante Van Zier, between a combination of suspension and injury, contributes far less than he's supposed to. Okay, that stuff happens. But when that stuff happens and a summer signing window passes by, where so many of the teams in this league, including Atlanta United, by the way, make themselves better, and you stood pat with a couple of, let's just say, off the radar signings, this is what you're going to get. They're not mathematically eliminated, but I think the final push will come Wednesday night when they go into Cincinnati. The fans will be raucous there. First time they're back home after Supporters Shield winning over the weekend. So, it'll all end for them soon enough. That was a major disappointment on Saturday night when they lost 1-0 to Chicago at home. That can't happen. Just to answer your question, Sydney, and just look at next year for them, they have promised, at least verbally, they're going to be much more aggressive in the signing window and spend. Let's see if that actually happens.
And just a kind of quick follow-up, because I'm kind of surprised that Red Bull have struggled this year. I mean, like I said, and like we've all said, they've consistently in the playoffs, especially with this expanded playoff with like 9 teams from each conference.
Yeah.
Any teams around the league that you looked at them at the beginning of the season and said, this team is going to be for sure successful, that have disappointed in your eyes?
I was expecting the other question. What team did I think would do nothing at all and make a lot of noise? And the answer to that,
well, that too.
Yeah, the answer to that would be Houston. And I'm not just saying that because of the Open Cup on Wednesday. I know Ben Olsen a little bit, but I didn't see this coming. This wasn't the sexy coach signing at all. And he's found a way to get the best out of Hector Herrera, who didn't deliver what Houston wanted upon arrival. And Carrasquilla, if he's not the best 8 in the league, is something close to that. So considering how well they play at home, I think they've got a little something going. And having won the trophy already is not insignificant. It's nothing like having hardware in your pocket already to give a little bit of weight off your shoulders going into the playoffs. The ever so obvious answer to your initial question is Toronto, which has been a disaster from day one. They got Sean Johnson because they thought he was the keeper who would complete the puzzle. And instead, you know how sometimes we say, oh, that's a trade that worked out for both teams. They both have reason to be happy. That's one where each team rues it. Sean Johnson going to Toronto, as a free agent signing. Let me correct myself. But Sean Johnson leaving New York City to go to Toronto, that worked out disastrously for each of these teams. New York City's got a little something better going right now with Matt Freese in goal, but still. But there is no defense for having 2 fantastic players on each side of your attack, in Insigne on the left and Bernardeschi on the right, and to do what this team did, to have one coach chased out, to have an interim coach come on, make no difference at all. There was no bump when Terry Dunfield came in, and now John Herdman takes the sidelines only as all the focus goes to next season. So there's a lot to be disappointed about in Toronto, because I thought that would be a team that absolutely would make the playoffs. They're going to finish last in the league this year.
I could see that. And I know we're ping-ponging around, but you talking about, signings and everything else. One that we somehow haven't hit on yet really was the summer window for Atlanta. Just what are your overall thoughts? Because we've discussed it a lot here, obviously. I mean, Leagues Cup happened. It was a disaster. And then things suddenly started looking up. And I think most people attribute a lot of the success just to this summer transfer window and how good it was. But what are your thoughts on the new signings for Atlanta?
Well, I think for any team, if you hit on one in the summer, that's a good summer window for any MLS team. If you hit on more than one, that's jackpot stuff. Okay. And I think Atlanta enters that territory. I voted for player of the month in September, just before I came on with you guys. And if it wasn't for Cucho, Saba would have been my choice. He was my second place vote, and Pedro Galese, the Orlando keeper, was number 3. So I think when you potentially add 2 or 3 starters, and I believe Atlanta United has done that in this window, that's home run stuff to a team that already had good pieces. And I don't think I'm saying the things that I said earlier on this podcast about where I think they are overall in terms of talent and power in the league, unless those summer signings become real. So good for them. I'm interested to see where this goes down the stretch. I still have my doubts on the defensive end, but this is clearly going to be a fun team to watch as we move forward. But, give Garth Lagerwey 1 or 2 more windows. I think you're really going to like what you see.
So I know we're almost out of time. I think we asked you this last time, similar question, except you were in Atlanta last time, but you've covered Philly significantly, like you said, this year. So there are, and I know this, typically Eastern Conference Atlanta supporters travel well. But with it being Philly and with some of the comments that were made earlier this season by Jim Curtin with the driver's license and everything, I'm sure the traveling supporters will be pretty well up there in Philly. But just as a fun question, besides Philly cheesesteaks, what is the food? Where do they go? What do they do when they're up there at the stadium?
Well, I drive back and forth from my house in North Jersey every time I do a game in Philadelphia, so I wouldn't describe myself as a man about the town. Look, Chester, Pennsylvania is not Philadelphia. Let's be very clear about that. The 1 or 2 times this season where I've actually stayed in Philadelphia the night of a game, you have to understand it's a decent 25 to 30-minute drive into downtown Philly. So you're not really in the hub of anything when you're around the stadium. So where do they go? They probably go eat at the stadium, or they go into the city where all the buzz is right there around Rittenhouse Square and where a lot of the major hotels are located. But they'll probably hit the main hot spots in Philly that you all know about, Geno's and all of the extensions of that.
Go ahead, Tom. I think you have a question that you want to ask.
No, go ahead, Sidney.
I'll probably take Tommy's thunder, but he'll forgive me, I'm sure. You're a hockey guy, of course. I think we talked about it.
Oh, you stole it.
Oh.
I'm done.
Sorry. No, but yeah, you're a hockey guy, and you call the Devils for years. As a Sabres fan myself, and then Tommy as a Ducks fan, and Tyler, I don't know if you really...
He doesn't know what hockey is. We got to explain the rules to him after Steve gets off.
But they're not here anymore. So
Right. How do things shake out, do you think?
If it wasn't for, you see, it's hard for me to talk about the Devils because when I left my place in the booth there, I knew I was leaving at a time they were about to get very good, and they're going to be very good again this year. I just think I could see Buffalo as a playoff team. I wouldn't expect top 4 Eastern Conference, but it's swinging on the way up. Will you be satisfied with that answer, Sidney?
I mean, I'll take it, considering the way they've played in past years. I'll take it.
It's
Built
still
from there.
Talking anything Buffalo is sad for me because my buddy Rick Jenneret passed away earlier this year, and
a legend.
I think people, understand this in any league in the United States, that relationship as a fan that you get with your local announcer. And he was legendary there for
sure.
half a century, and it's big shoes to fill for those that follow him. But, I was excited to see him have a call of Sabres hockey for a year for one more really good season by Buffalo. But the Lord had other ideas, I guess. Didn't want to bring this down. Wow, what a way to end. Ask something else, please.
Well, happy hockey season, and that's next week. So I might, if I disappear from this show, it might just because I forgot there's too many games on.
There you go.
But, enjoy the call, Steve. We appreciate you coming back on. And who knows, we might be playing Philly in the playoffs, and we might be talking to you again.
Yeah, I am not exclusively the voice of the Philadelphia Union, guys.
It seems like it, though.
It seems like it a lot, I know. Danny lives about a 13-minute drive from the stadium, so he loves this. And then I get in the car, and he knows I have a 2-hour, 45-minute trip home, which makes him snicker a little bit. But, yeah, we've done our fair share. But anytime, guys, thanks for having me, really.
Remember, Lobjanidze.
Yeah.
Lobjanidze.
Lobjanidze.
I've got it. Thank you, man.
Appreciate
We're
it.
going to be
See you.
listening.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah. You
Oh,
stole my
sorry
hockey
to
question.
Sorry.
Stole it.
Sorry.
Stole it.
Tommy.
I thought you had an Atlanta question.
Please forgive me.
And, man, that's my
Thievery.
thing.
Thievery.
Yeah. But yeah, great conversation with Steve, and looking forward to this call with Danny on Wednesday.
Yeah. It'll be good. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's a big game, I think, and I think Atlanta is treating it like it. Listened to a little bit of what Pineda said today. It seems that they're taking this game as in multiple ways, right? Like obviously big for the standings, but big just from a mental aspect of just moving forward. With the team, showing that you can win on the road, because like Steve said, you're gonna have to go on the road at some point, and you can't you're gonna have to play defense too. Can you shut a team down? I personally hope that we're up just 1-0 with 20 minutes to go, and these guys can prove to themselves that they can shut a game out and just finish 1-0. Or if they got a second one, that's great. Like that's fine too. But I want to see them in that scenario, because a lot of these games, right, have just been blowouts. And it's nice, right? Like that we've been able to have some blowouts, but like you go back and you look at some of the closer games that we've had, it's blowing leads or potentially close to blowing leads. In Dallas, it was the Dallas game, right? Like they came back, like that entire end of the game. You're just sitting there going, we're going to blow it. We're going to blow it. They're going to get the 3 points. And we got lucky and held on. So, yeah, it's a huge game here. Do you guys want to get to the news?
Yes. There was one point about what he was saying that you just wrapped up in a bow. And Sydney stole it from my mind. Just like he stole your hockey
Sorry.
question.
I'm like stealing everything today.
Yeah, I can't think of what it was, but it was a good one. It was a good one, but it's okay. It'll live up here somewhere forever. But
Late
news,
night
yeah.
tweet.
Yeah, late night tweet. I'm
Right.
right. 3:00 in the morning. It's gonna be bam. There's Tyler Pilgrim on Twitter.
Yeah.
For some reason.
So some sad news to start off, right? With
Yeah.
the news today. We learned Machop Chol's likely out to the end of the season, regular season,
Dang.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
2 months, I think I saw on Twitter.
Yep. I mean,
according to
that would
Doug.
put him back right at like MLS Cup if they made it right.
MLS
Right.
Cup hero Machop Chol. But I mean, yeah, I think I wouldn't expect him back in any form or fashion this year, and still trying to figure out where the injury happened. I didn't notice anything in the last game that he played, so I'm assuming it's either a flare up or something that was aggravated in training. But yeah, tough for Chop, and he filled in a few times pretty well, and yeah, unfortunately his season is over for 2023, but all the best to him in 2024. Hopefully he comes back stronger and healthier and ready to affect the first team even more.
Yeah, I mean, with the depth that you had, he most likely wasn't going to be appearing on the sheet unless there was other players that got hurt as well. I mean, that's just kind of the point. We've gotten deep, right, at this window, and especially that position. Now, Chop, obviously, I mean, we've talked about him playing midfield this season, right? When the season started, he was playing midfield. He was starting as striker, and the most famous Family Insurance Cup, right? I think he played striker in that game.
Yep. And
he got hurt there as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here what this team does in the future with the wing, and what they do with him, because all of a sudden you've got a lot of depth, and you got to be able to keep some of these players as well, right? And like Tyler Wolf, as he continues to stay here, if he does, he's gonna want playing time, and he's like, seems like he's one of the first ones off the bench, right? And depending if you keep Mascara, it's like those two are you go into next season, just assuming you don't add anyone to that position, like I think you're pretty set. Like Mascara, Tyler Wolf, those could be your subs for a game. So whatever happens to Machop Chol in this offseason is definitely something to watch.
And Chop is marketable. Sorry.
Yeah. No, just super quick, I'll address this. It's based off Edgar's mentioning that the team needs to move on from Chop. His contract ends after this year, and I'll throw this out there super quick. When I asked Pineda about the wingers a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned Wolf, he mentioned Urides, he mentioned Tommy, also mentioned Machop. So that leads me to believe, unless it was just a matter of habit and lumping him in with those players, leads me to believe that he's back next year on the minimum contract, just as a depth piece. And if not as a depth piece for Atlanta United, definitely with Atlanta United 2 as a player who sees more significant time. So it's just a little tidbit to throw out there. But Tyler, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with all that. I mean, I think like I said, he is marketable. I think there are teams out there that could use him a Chop Chol for sure. The injury thing is definitely going to be the biggest hiccup for him, I feel. But I mean, I like Machop. I really do. I think he still has a lot of growth, not physically because he's freaking tall, but I think he can still evolve into a solid. I think winger is his position. I think that's what he thrives on.
Cut that.
It's that night. Yep. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think it all depends, kind of what the team is looking at going forward in terms of depth. I mean, you have your starting 11 for the most part. I mean, there's still going to be some changes in the offseason to that, but not, I don't think, at the winger position. And there's Machop Chol, the Machamp on Pokemon Go. Add us if you play. But no, I mean, maybe I can find out some stuff between now and the next show about his injury and kind of what's going on with him. And see what we can find out. And Bruno asking down in the chat, is he considered an international player? No. And that was actually another point that I was going to hit on. Obviously, he plays for South Sudan. He's lived in Atlanta since he was 2. So he has a lot of ties here. So contrary to what I just said, I mean, yes, he is marketable, but does he want to go anywhere? Is he okay playing for the Twos, right? Is he okay staying here and continuing to get that time with South Sudan? And who knows? Maybe he does work his way up and evolve into a better player. I like to say I'm on
Pokemon nerds.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you two, not me.
Don't look. Get in the club, all right?
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Couple call-ups for a couple of academy players that we got to mention too, right?
Yeah, Aiden Torres and Sean Lanza.
So
I mean, go ahead, Tyler. You're the academy.
I mean,
you're the academy guy, so you go for it.
No, I mean, so basically, Aiden Torres was one that received a homegrown contract recently. Sean Lanza has been standout for the academy. We always try to go back to the younger guys too, right? This show obviously is going to focus on the first team because that's what everybody's focused on. But there's a lot going on below that, right? The Twos, unfortunately, their season ended. But Nick Firmino receiving a lot of interest. I will say that for sure. I mean, not just because of his goal scoring, but everything else he's done for that team. He's been a leader on that team and everything else. But the academy, Sean Lanza, Aiden Torres, both training with the U17s, the US U17s for training camp. The U17 World Cup in Indonesia starts November 10th. So maybe, I'm assuming, if they're in training camp a month before, they're probably going to get called up to that World Cup, I would imagine. But the US's first game starts November 12th against South Korea, and they're in a group with France, South Korea, and there's another team. I'm gonna have to look it up and I might just have to interrupt you guys in a little bit, but it's not a France or South Korea. I know that. Sydney, you look like you're furiously typing back there.
No, I was just taking a look, and so Aiden Torres, is a professional player signed to Lady United too. Sean Lanza, I believe, is not at this point in time. He has had significant time with the two, so I would expect 2024 he signs with them. But good for Aiden, good for Sean, good for the boys to get international experience. And I don't know how far they'll get ultimately with the U17s, but still good to see their names attached to at least get that experience. Real quick, a couple of you are asking about Firmino. So that's a conversation that we've had at numerous points this season. Why is it Firmino in the first team?
Friend of the show.
Yes.
Yes.
Who has been on the show before. So that's a conversation that I'm sure Atlanta United's front office is having. I'm sure that will come up in kind of the conversations after the season with Carlos Bocanegra, Garth Lagerwey, etc. The risk you take is signing a player that just doesn't fit in MLS. Granted, he had the goal. I don't want to take that away from him at all because that's tremendous for him. But you run the risk of
Burkina Faso.
expectations.
Told you I was going to interrupt you. There it is. Go ahead.
No, but you run the risk of, putting a lot of expectations on a player who may or may not pan out. And that's not to say that Nick will not pan out, but he's had just a tremendous season with Atlanta United too, and I feel like Atlanta United would be doing itself a disservice and at least not sign him to a minimum contract. That's just me talking. I don't think he's going to be long for first team contract, just personally. But yeah, the story is worth watching. It's been a terrific story, and it's great to see him.
And I'll throw this out there really quick too, my 2 cents, because I did the interview with him for Dirty South Soccer. Then we had him on the show. Obviously, he's very adamant, like his goal, and he's very goal oriented. But his goal is to make it to Europe. Tommy, I'm so sorry that we threw you off with that.
Barcelona. The answer is Barcelona.
He wants to go overseas. His favorite team is Barcelona, but he wants to play in Europe, right? I think every player has that aspiration. I don't know. To me, he's kind of in an interesting position because you don't want him staying with the twos next season. He's too good for it. And that's not a knock against the rest of the twos. That's just facts. He's been such a good player. And is there a spot for him in this first team? I don't know. I mean, I think he can handle it. I personally do, but I don't know how much playing time he'll get to put him in that spotlight. That being said, I think other teams absolutely would be interested in other MLS teams. And I'll be honest, I think there's other teams maybe in second divisions in Europe that would be interested in him, may already be interested in him. We'll see.
Yeah. It'd be sad to see him go for sure. But especially some of these young players, you just feel bad for them. Like, I think we talked about Jackson Conway there for a while. Like, he was kind of like in a purgatory there for a little while when Joseph was coming in and out because he constantly had to be, sitting on the bench, and then he wasn't playing, right? And like a player that young should be consistently playing, getting better, and he just missed. I mean, he didn't play much that season, but he had to play when Joseph couldn't. That was his only opportunities. And you see when he plays consistently with, the twos, Jackson can get on a roll, but he hadn't had much time over the year. So that's what you just don't want for him, right? Sign and then just not end up playing as much. So yeah, it would be nice to see him there. And I think that fans are going to get really upset if he just leaves here, but we'll see.
Yeah. So, did you want to hit predictions for Philadelphia? We didn't get to that yet.
No, yeah, we got to finish up with predictions. Sydney, now
Can't believe you forgot.
we know you're
Yes.
an offer right now. You've got none. But if you get the last 3 correct, you could win this. So we believe in you. We believe.
Choose wisely.
What is the score?
1-0. Atlanta United.
Took my answer. I'll have to come up with something different.
You can pick whatever you want. You can pick what I picked, or you can pick your own. There's no rule saying you have to pick another scoreline.
I'm saying 2-0 Atlanta. I think they get the clean sheet out of sheer willpower. I think this week and a half that they've been off, I'm pretty sure it's been absolutely blasted into their heads. And that was that point that I forgot earlier, Tommy. Steve brought it up a little bit ago. A championship team has to have a defense. They can't go on shootouts every match. For sheer fact of you can't sustain that physically. Your players can't sustain that physically. You've got to be able to sit back at some point and handle it. So 2-0, I think maybe the chat works and they get the clean sheet and the rest of the guys do the job.
Well, I'm a man of the people. Okay. And I have decided that since Sydney stole my answer, I'm going to go with the people's answer of Bruno 2-1, Bryant 2-1, Gonzo 2-1, Edgar 2-1, Henry 3-1. Sorry, Henry, you're wrong. I love Henry so
Elliot
much.
2-1.
Elliot 2-1. That's where we're going. 2-1.
Dave said 3-1.
Dave
Yako
said
found
3-1.
And Bruno
said 6-1. Get out here, Bruno.
No, don't get out of here. If that happens,
that'd be nice.
Take
That'd
it
be
all
nice.
day.
That'd be nice. Yeah, seeing in the chat, Edgar, our friend out west 2-1, Josh 1-1, JBG 3-2 Atlanta, Parzival 2-1. I'm assuming Atlanta. But yeah, let us know on Twitter, X, Scars, the Litter, and Spikes throughout the week, but leading up to the match, what you think, and let us know your predictions.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've all had fun today. I feel like I'm wrapping up a children's TV show. We've all had fun today. Again, thanks to Steve for stopping by. Thank you to all of you. We hit 600. I think we're at 602 now.
Yeah.
602 followers on YouTube.
Moving up in the world.
And counting, yeah. So
yeah. Thank you to all of you. We'll be back again on Wednesday. Sign up for our Patreon. Come hang out with us on Zoom. Be talking about the game. We'll be back with Spaces later that night. And then we'll be back Saturday, where we'll also be doing Spaces. And I don't know if we're doing an episode later in the week. We haven't really talked about it. If we did, I forgot.
We'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll talk internally.
Follow us on social and get the scoop.
And
All right, guy.
Everybody else earlier, real quick, that was saying, hey, get to 1,000 subscribers by MLS Cup. If y'all can find a way to get us to 1,000 subscribers without getting us banned on YouTube, more power to you. Bring it on.
Still time.
We're gonna wake up to 1,000, and then you're just gonna see in the comments, he.
Yeah.
Daniel. Somebody signed up for a bunch of accounts. Both Edgars.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a good night and go Atlanta.
Vamos.
Who's on fire?
Who's on fire?
Atlanta and Daniel.
Yes, they are. Thanks as always, everyone. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
I'm going to go watch some wrestling now.
Make good choices.
Yes, behave, children. All right. See y'all.
See you guys.
See ya.